Welcome to Philosophy and Critical Thinking. In today's video, I've created a thought experiment which I'll call Cloud's Hypocrisy, a thought experiment on climate change activism. This plot comes from a video game called Final Fantasy VII. The plot here is that there's this world where all life and the life of the planet depends on a substance called the life stream. However, there is a company, a powerful company called Shinra. They hold a similar degree of power as the East India Trading Company did in the 1700s. They enforce laws to everyone around them. They have their own army. They pretty much run the whole show. There's no democracy in this world. It's pretty much a dictatorship run by the company Shinra. This company creates energy to run trains, for weapons, and for your general day-to-day life stuff by using an energy source called Marco. Marco is created in these Marco reactors. What they do is they suck the life stream out of the planet and convert the life stream into Marco. So as they do this, the more Marco they create, they suck more life stream out of the planet, which is slowly killing the planet. In this world, there's a man named Cloud, who is an ex-soldier of Shinra and has become a mercenary. As a mercenary, he is hired by a group of eco-terrorists who are called Avalanche. Avalanche's mission is to destroy the Marco reactors and ultimately overthrow Shinra. In their battles against Shinra, Cloud and Avalanche rely on a weapon known as Materia. Materia are crystals that allow the holders to call upon powerful magics. These magics can cure and heal people who are injured or dying. The Materia can also cast very big elemental magics that can destroy or kill lots of soldiers or lots of enemies in one go. It also can call upon giants or beasts that help fight by your side. And they rely on this because the Shinra army is so powerful. They pretty much need all the help that they can get. So they use Materia as a weapon to help them in their fight. Now, Materia is created in Marco reactors. It's a byproduct of the process of creating Marco from the life stream. As the Marco has been created, these crystals will form, and then those crystals can be collected to be used as Materia. So when they are fighting against Shinra and fighting against the use of Marco, they're using a resource that comes from Marco. So the questions I'd like to raise from this thought experiment is, are Cloud and Avalanche morally justified in using Materia in their battles? And are Cloud and Avalanche being hypocrites for using Materia whilst also being against Marco production? I would say that yes, they are morally justified in using Materia in their battles, and no, they are not being hypocrites for using Materia whilst also being against Marco production, because they need to use the resources available to them to make their goals as likely as possible to be achieved. So if they don't use the Materia, their chances of defeating Shinra and shutting down the Marco reactors is very small. Whereas if they do use the Materia, then their chances are much greater. So I would say that they are morally justified, and no, they are not being hypocrites. In recent right-wing media, there's been challenges or charges of hypocrisy of climate change activists and politicians who are calling for action on climate change. In Australia, political commentator Paul Murray has been pointing out that many Labor and Greens MPs are flying planes everywhere and saying, well, if you're flying planes everywhere, you're using carbon emissions, so therefore you're being a hypocrite. And Piers Morgan, on I think it was on Good Morning Britain, had one of the co-founders of Extinction Rebellion on the show, and he was challenging her with questions like, "Oh, how did you get here? You were driven here. Oh, you've been driven here. That's carbon emissions. You're being a hypocrite. Do you own a TV? Oh, if you own a TV, therefore you're being a hypocrite." So this is the charge laid by some of these right-wing commentators. So let's see what we can make of this. Well, to see whether it's being hypocritical or not, or whether they're morally justified in using carbon emissions, even though they're against using carbon emissions, is to see what the roles are of politicians and climate change activists. The role of a politician is to campaign to the public to, show what your views of what the right policies are and what you believe, what your values are, and to spread that message. And a part of spreading that message is to get in front of a TV camera or to go to different areas and speak with the people and so on and so forth. And such methods require resources. So you need to use the resources that are currently available to you. And very similar for climate change activists. They're trying to spread a message on bringing about some kind of governmental level change, or some kind of new form of policy, or campaign for some kind of civil rights issue, and so on and so forth. So in respect to climate change, activists are pushing forward for government to make more meaningful action against climate change. And just like with politicians, this will require resources. To go to the concrete examples, the Labor and Greens MPs do need to go out and persuade people of this is the right policy and this is what we think we should do. So flying around from place to place is a very common thing for any politician to do, because they recognise this is what they need to do to get their job done. With the Extinction Rebellion, she's been invited to go onto this TV show, and I'm sure there would have been a certain time period that she had to be there. So to say, okay, I'm going to use some of this carbon resource to go on TV and spread the message of having the government make meaningful action on climate change seems like a bit of a fair trade. If she's successful and goes on to TV and spreads the message and everyone gets behind Extinction Rebellion and to create a better emissions reducing targets and put more funding to renewable energy, that short trip in the car to get to the TV to do that is a necessary thing to do. So this is where the analogy of the thought experiment comes in. I would put forward that there is no relevant difference between Cloud and Avalanche using Materia in their fight against Marco, and politicians and climate change activists using resources that rely on carbon emissions to bring about meaningful policy against climate change. So this is where I say that the analogy of the thought experiment is with climate change activism. If you want more information, you can go onto the website www.philosophycriticalthinking.com, and on my website there is a tutorial on arguments from analogy and thought experiments, which can help analyze this thought experiment if you find it compelling, or if you find out that there are faults in it. Also, there's a book I highly recommend called Introduction to Philosophical Methods by Chris Daly, which has a very good chapter on thought experiments. If you want to stay in tune for more videos, please subscribe and click the bell. Thanks.